Alright guys, so this was where we stopped in the last video. So we were talking about how to style a particular paragraph among all paragraphs. Alright, now I told you that for you to do that, or for you to accomplish that, you have to identify which paragraph in which um division or head or category you find it. All right, it's just like you saying that you are looking for a very tall fair boy. You just enter a community and you just meet somebody and say, I'm looking for a tall fair boy. Maybe like tall fair boy, there are a lot of tall fair boys in this community. Which of them are you looking for? And like there is one in Mr. A house, Mr. B house, Mr. C house, Mr. D house, and you be like, oh, I think it's Mr. C. And I'm like, Mr. C has two wives, and each of the wives has a tall fair boy. Which of them? Like is one of Mr. Inena and Mrs. Inena. You have now specified that okay, is this particular woman's own. So you'll be able to locate which person is in which house you can find that person. The same thing applies here, right? Now let's go back to our code. You realize that you find this paragraph, which is on line 31, inside a particular container. During our HTML class, I taught you different sections, divisions, containers you can find in your HTML file. All of them are inside the body, but inside that body, so they're just like saying different rooms in the body, or different sections in one same body, and each section has their own name. Now here we have the header first. And I told you that the header is the head region, all right, the topmost region of your file, of your page. And you notice that the P here is inside that header, so that means that this P belongs to the header. So if you want to now address that P, it be like header P. So that is the P attached to header, which we find here in line 22. All right. Now personally I feel that this red color here doesn't really make sense. So let's now change it to white, and let's see what we got. You see, this one makes more sense compared to the former one, right? It makes more sense compared to the former one. And I want to italize it. Like I want to give it italics. No, it's a tagline, right? It's a tagline. So we can as well italize it. Understand? Now, how do we do that? After this tag, let's put. I've taught you how to use tags, isn't it? So we are going to do that here. You have a tag here, and you also put it here. So it's something I've already taught you. If you have not if you don't know about it, I will advise you watch the video on it. All right, so it has already been explained before. Now let's see something. You see that the thing now, it has been italicized. Before it was straight, but now it has been italicized, and I think it makes more sense by this. So we've been able to design our head region, right? We've been able to design our head region. Now don't forget that normally head region has its own section about us, our core courses, and get in touch. They also have a footer here, which is one of created 2025, the brainstormers tutorials, all rights reserved, and the other. But each and every one of these, they are together in something. Now what is that? Look at something here. You see, we have something called main in this line 34, main. But even still, okay, hold on, we have header, right? We have main. Now inside main you have section 1. The first section is about us, second section is our courses, right? Second, which is line 47. Third section is get in touch. Then lastly we have footer, isn't it? But now let me show you something. You see all of these different sections and header, all of them are inside one file, inside one container. What is that container? Body. So you can give the body one particular design and see something. You see something will happen. Let's do something. Let's say now I love to do things in order. So the body is the first thing here. So let's come and put it at the top. So body. Now what body do you want to give? What do you want to give that body? Let's say we want to give it one particular color. Let's say at first I told you padding. Let's give it a padding. Padding should be 10 px, right? And now be the color. Let's say background. Let's first give it a very obvious color before we give it something that's not so obvious. Let's say red, for instance, although that is very, very dangerous anyways, but let's look at it. Red. Notice something? All of it, including the header region and everything, every part of it is now red, right? Good, but the red doesn't make sense like I said earlier, so I just want to make it so obvious. Now, what color do you think we can use to make it look cool, right? I'm not a color type, but let's see. And I told you that HTML, the best way to do color for HTML is to use HTML color codes, and you can find that online. If you want to use just the normal English text, terms and everything, you will run out of colors, right? So I don't know, let's try this. Let's see if we can get something like cream. I don't know if cream really exists. It doesn't, right? But there is, when you use your color code, you can get a value for that. But cream does not really exist for an English term. Okay, what color do you think can match or can blend with this? Personally, I will want to take let's try navy blue. But I believe that if you are working on a project, you must have already gotten your colors and everything ready, how you want your background to look like and how everything should be. Do you understand now? So these are just me trying to explain to you how you can tweak the colors and everything, right? But seems like this blue does not make sense either. All right, so preferably let's just leave it at let's see what we can get for indigo. Okay, I already had that before. Indigo, still the same thing, but let's leave it like that. Or better still, let's leave it as the white. All right, let's leave it as the white. Now the code for white is hashtag FFF. FFF is for white, right? Do you understand that? So, but you can just write your normal white there and you still get the same results. Okay, and I don't think you want to put any other thing there again, but if there's any, we'll see. But for now, we've been able to tell you that we have been able to establish that you can also affect the overall color of the full body. You understand me now? So that's the main point there. Now, under main, you have different sections. If you just pick that, okay, section. All right, now let me show you something. Let's say you now say, okay, section is a tag. Okay, let's say, and you now say, okay, section. You now say padding 10 pixel, background color or background. You can just put your background. You said blue. Let's see something. See now, all sections have blue. All sections have the blue background. You know why it is all of them? Because all of them are sections on their own. So we've just linked everything together, which doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense at all. So clear this part of your code clear this part. So you are not going to get expected results unless you have a particular thing in mind, a particular goal you want to achieve with that. All right, but basically that's why, because we want each of them to be unique, that's why we have class and ID. Right, now look at this first section here, the one on line 41. You see that it has an ID, and I told you that ID is more useful when you are dealing with JavaScript. You get my point? Otherwise you can just use class and you still get your answer there. You get my point now? But this is an ID. So if you are using ID, and I told you that whenever you are using ID, you use hashtag. You don't just write the name of the element. Use what? Hashtag. Now what are we talking about? what is the ID there for the first section there? About us. Sorry, about us. Now you must make sure that what you are writing is exactly the way it is here. Look at it. If you know, if it now you see that there's a dash here, this dash. If you remove that, if you didn't include the dash here, it's not going to identify that you're talking about a particular ID, right? It's going to be something entirely different. It's not going to even work at all, because there is no part of your code that has an ID that is about us that does not have a dash inside. You understand? So you open your curly braces. Now what do you want to do there? What do you have in mind? Okay, let's say you want to pad it because you want to design it, and you said, okay, my padding, let's call it 10 pixel, and the color is still white. Say you want to give it the color white. All right, you won't notice any significant change because everything normally is white there before. Oh, sorry, the color here, yes, let me quickly just point this out. This color, if you just write color, that means it is the text. It is the text that becomes white. Take note of that. It is the text. So, but if you want to make it the background, like it's just the background you want to change, then just ensure you include background color. So you see that everything has returned back. Alright, so the background color originally was white. So, but the about us, all those ones, they are in black color. So don't forget that. So that is that for that. Now, white. And there's something interesting I want to include there. Since we already have a padding, you know, I told that padding is like a box, a shape around or upon which you have your text. Now, let's do something. Check this out. Border. You have border 5 pixel, solid, 5 pixel, solid, blue. Check something out. Tada. Now, I told you that when you have a pad, now there's something called membrane in biology, cell membrane. That is the covering. You see that covering, those edges, the entire surface of the covering, is the border, right? The border. And now we said that, okay, the border, now we want it to be 5 pixel thick and solid. Are you getting me now? And the color of the border should be blue, and that's what we have here. Do you understand now? So you have put it in a border, in a box. You have normally the padding has placed it in a box, but you have now like gave the edge, like the surface of the covering, a unique color, and you have increased the thickness of the membrane. Let me call it membrane now. All right. You can tweak it more. You can try to reduce the thickness too if you are not cool with it. You can try to say, okay, let's give it 2. So that the thickness will reduce a bit. See that it has reduced. Now, if you notice something, you will realize that there is no space between the pad of header and the pad of about us. You can also tweak it. You understand? You can tweak it too. Now, how do you do the tweaking? Don't forget that the whole header box here, that is the orange, is the one that is kissing. Sorry, let me go back to that. Is the one that is kissing the surface of the pad for the section of about us. So what you want to shift is either you give this the about us section a space up, or you give the header section a space down. Let's check something. We'll try something now. Now, about us, let's say we call it margin, right? Margin top. margin top, let's say 10 pixel. I just love 10 a lot, right? 10 pixel. See that it has shifted. So now what that thing means is that it has like that between itself and what is at the top of it, there should be a space that is 10 pixel thick. Right, that is 10 pixel thick. You can also do it, you can also give that space if you work on the header itself. Right, so for the header now, let's remove this for instance first. Let's cut this out. Now it will still go back to what it was before. You see that there's no space again. Now if you don't want to touch the about us, then you can touch the header. Right, for header it will now be margin bottom, ten pixel. You see now it still gave you the space. You understand? So either ways, you just know the position of each, what they are relative to each other. If you are touching the header, then and with the about us, you see that the about us is below the header, so it's going to be margin bottom. If it is the about us you want to tweak, then you know that the header is on top of it, so you're going to be margin top. You understand? So that is beautiful. Now like I always say, I don't like the edge of my section to be sharp. I love it to be to be curved. You understand? So let's do a touch to that. Don't forget we're talking about the about us section. Don't go to somewhere else. About us section. So it will now be what? The border radius. Now remember the first thing here, which is the first one was border. Like we spoke on the entire border region, both the edges and the whole surface. But now we said border. Which part of border we are talking about? The edges, the radius. And how do we want it to be? We want it to be curved. Now originally it is just 1 px. Yes, originally by default it is 1 px. Now let me show you something. See that nothing changed there, still the same thing. But let's go back and see something. Let's now move it to, let's change it to 5 pixel and check something out. You see that thing has curved slightly. It is now slightly curved, right? But I want to make it so obvious so that you can see it very well. So let's give it 15 pixel. Oh, it's now looking more like okay, just pardon me the English anyways, but you get my point here. You see the curve now is so obvious and beautiful. Now let's now touch the content inside our about us container. The content inside it. All right, now look at something. Oh, don't forget that everything we are doing is section by section. We didn't affect the other part. All right, but I want to show you something now to show that it is going to affect the other part. If you look at this about us, it is header 2. All right, so in section 1 you have about us to be header 2. Right, in section 2 here, which is on line 59, you see that it also has an header 2, right? h2. Look at the third section in line 74. It also has what? An h2, isn't it? So now I want to show you something very important so you don't make that mistake, or unless you intentionally do it. h2 now, remember your curly braces. You now say, okay, let's say color blue. See something? You see that all the head 2, look at h2 here, blue, h2 here, blue, this get in touch, blue. Everything that represents h2 gets affected. You understand? Everything that represents h2 does what? Gets affected. But the h2 we want to deal with here is just the about us. We don't want to touch our courses. We don't want to touch the get in touch. You understand? Just the about us. And how do you do that? Remember what I explained earlier on. If you want to be specific, trace it to its house. You understand? So now that means it's going to be about us. remember that about us is an ID, and ID uses hashtag, so it's going to be hashtag about us. I think there is too much space here. Remove one of the spaces. Okay, now let's say something. Look at it. You have about us having blue, but the rest have returned back to black. Now you see that this about us is in the house of what? This about us is in this house of this ID, which is about us. Now that is the identity of that house, is about us in smaller case. Don't go and mistake it for the one of H2. I'm talking about the session ID itself. Is about us. Do you understand now? So because, and I told you something during the class, that ID, they are very unique. You cannot find two sections having the same ID. No, you are going to get a conflict. You are going to experience a conflict. So two sections cannot have the same ID. Do you understand me now? Two sections cannot have the same ID. So ID are very unique. Just like you saying my ID card, it is your own identity. Very, very unique. You understand? So you cannot find two about us that is an ID. I'm not talking about the one of H2 now. I'm talking about the one that is an ID in the line 50 here. That is immediately after the section. You find ID equals to about us. You get now? Now let's go back to our design. I want the I want the about us to be at the center. It doesn't look nice being at the left. We want to put it at the center. So what are we going to use? Text. Don't forget that it's a text. Now don't do to the text. We want to align it. Now when you align it, where are you putting it? Center. You see now? Makes sense. Like I'm so much in love with this. Like I'm just so much in love with this. You see now? About us. But I don't like the space between the about us and the border, that blue border. I want to make it close to each other a bit. So now let's say that would be what? That would be margin top. We don't know the actual pixel that is there yet, but let's say 2 pixel, and let's see what we're gonna get. 2 pixel. You see that it's a bit closer now. Like it's a bit closer now, and it's cool. You get? It's cool. So you can keep on tweaking it. You can make it bigger or smaller. Alright. So this is where we're going to stop the second video for now. We'll come back again and continue from here.